Hey, I'm here with a first place OTS championship deck profile. This is K9VS Soul. We can just go ahead and get straight into it. So I'm gonna show ratios, and it'll probably be a bit longer because I'm gonna explain some that I think people haven't thought about too much. But these here, pretty non-negotiable. So we're starting off with 3 Raisin, 3 Sue, and 3 Mad Love. All of these guys, completely non-negotiable. Like, Mad Love, you could ideally have as Pot of Prosperity, but the deck needs the attribute, so you can't change that. Then these guys you're kind of allowed to tweak ratios on, but I like them at these numbers because I think the deck performs at its best when you see more of your engine and not less of it. Like, most of the games I see Vanquish Soul players losing is because they don't have enough engine to actually play with. And I think you kind of just have to embrace the nature of this deck, that it takes multiple cards to play. And in that respect, like, Xiaolong's one of the best cards you can have because he, unlike a lot of, like, he'll make your bad hands worse, but he makes playable hands much, much better. And the same thing is true for this guy, Heavy Borger. Yeah, I think the fact that you can use this to play around like targeted interaction is super valuable. So while you could play this at less than 3, I do think having it at 3 pays dividends. Of course, sometimes it will lead to you bricking more just by not having a starter, but at the same time, a lot of the things people would replace it with, like additional hand traps, aren't starters anyway. So I've just chosen to keep him at 3, and it's been working out well for me so far. Then the one of K9VS, you don't really need more. Like, I don't think it would be horrendous to play more of it for the same reasons that I play this at 3, but 1 is plenty, and Earth is just like the worst attribute. Another non-negotiable is 3 Stake Your Soul, 3 Rhoda, your 1 Field Spell, and Snow Devil. This is like the best part of your inboard. 1000%, I would never cut this card, and this card is what makes Mad Love into a proper starter, and this is just your 4th copy of Raisin, and he is, for all intents and purposes, your best starter. So all of those numbers, pretty much completely non-negotiable. Then on to new additions from the deck from Justice Hunters. We have the K9s, and I want to say a lot of people have kind of like put a little bit too much stock in these cards, because while they're really good, they do not make the deck. They just add like they add a few things, like 1, this being the best next hand trap you could play in your deck. There are matchups where she's dead, so specifically Yummy, especially like when you're going second, she is not very usable most of the time. So there's a world where you could cut this to 2, but most other matchups she's live. So for that event and for now, I think I'm just going to keep her at the 3 of. But in that respect, with the K9 cards not being what makes the deck, I have chosen to only play the 2 Jakul, 1 Lantern, of course the 1 Lupus to pair with the Zuna. So those are the actual like non-negotiable parts. Some amount of this and Lupus I don't think you can change. And only 1 case. So these cards are horrendous going second, and this deck does not need more help going first. There's a reason why it performed the way it did after Duad without the K9s, because what it does going first is just enough. Like, Snow Devil is an incredibly hard card to play through. Now granted, you usually don't stun your opponent out of the game, but this deck also doesn't need to do that. It has probably the best grind game in the game, so if you live, you should be able to win out, you know, just about against any deck. Like, I played 5 Yummy matchups in our OTS championship, and I 2-0'd. I only dropped 2 games in the event, and most of my Yummy opponents who went first in game 2, because I won a couple die rolls, I would play through their board, like I would pass their board, we would get to the grind game, and they just wound up conceding because they had no way to win. So I think there's a world where potentially you even take this lower ratio a bit further and cut both of these cards and just play these guys at 1-ofs. But I have them at this number specifically for the sake of, like, you oftentimes want to, if you don't sue your opponent on their first turn, like if you don't open Sue +2 and you happen to get into her, you usually want her to be your last push. So that's why these numbers are cool, because you can go Jakul, get Lantern, go get Case, and then since you have the extra Jakul in the deck, you can retain a dark attribute in your deck, or like in your hand, to actually have Sue's effects be live whenever you're ready to use her. So there's a world where these ratios could change, but I do like how that plays out in practice. So Yeah. And then for the non-engine, I was on 3 Ash, which I think is just requisite for this deck. Like always, Ash is a little bit weak. It's a very low impact, but we're in a format where it's usually usable as a 6 card, so it's not too bad. But you also just need attributes in this deck, so I don't think you could ever cut this card, regardless of how like mediocre it is in the format. And then to take it a step further on the attributes, I chose to play 3 Impulse and 1 Fire Attacker. This card was incredible for me. Obviously, it's like technically a little bit weaker than a Charmy in the sense that it's not like a turn skip, but it does a couple things that are really cool. One, they're just more fire attributes, which I think is important, because your best strategy going second is just resolving Holly Sue. So a thing that'll happen a lot that a lot of people kind of fail to grasp, I guess, is that if you open like Sue, a Xiaolong, and just a handful of other fire monsters, which these are obviously, you can do Sue, reveal the Xiaolong, and then it'll special itself, and then you can reveal 2 of the other fire monsters in your hand and use that to go get like a Borger, which will then complete the attributes you need to actually resolve your Sue. So just having more fires is really valuable. But also I think like the philosophy of just the non-engine in Vanquish Soul should probably just be more cards that draw cards. Cards that draw cards and cards that stick bodies on the board. And this, in most matchups, is going to let you see 4 cards throughout a turn cycle, because a lot of decks won't clear this and a lot of decks will add on your turn, so you usually be able to get 4 cards deep off of this. Like it's only a +1 each time, but like you're still seeing more cards, which is what the deck wants. And because of playing those, I only main decked 2 Fululos. I thought about just not playing it at all, but like obviously the card's too good to not play. And this list is 41 cards, so ideally I would just be at 40. But yeah. And then the last non-engine were just these 2 Bestials. These guys are really good. They're good in like every matchup that isn't just like a pure Ryziel deck. They're extra bodies to help you make pushes before you commit your Vanquish Soul cards. Obviously, this guy can search your Kaiser Various, which is really, really good. Ideally, like I would like to have the 3rd one of these, but like I think the only way you could do that would be to cut this card, which I would prefer not to do, but you could, and like I would totally understand why. Like there's a world where you cut these, that's your 3rd Fululos. These are 2 other pieces of non-engine, ideally something with a fire attribute, and then you just cut this and the deck is a flat 40. And then like one of these could be Prosperity or something, which the deck probably does need because it is kind of light on starters, but like this list has been working out well for me so far, so changes for the future, just stuff to think about. And we're gonna move on to the extra deck now, which this is the extra deck I played for the event, and I was not completely solid on it, but like I'll just get into it as we go. So 3 Rock of the Vanquisher, it's the like most important card in your extra deck. Basically, it's how you win the ground game, essential part of your inboard a lot of times. 3 is not like the normal ratio. A lot of people only play 2, but I did have, because most of your matches after you get past, like they're just gonna go to grind games, and having 3 of these did come up frequently for me. Like I would play into a board, one would get cleared, then I would make the other one to end on one for their follow-up turn, and then on my next turn I would need another copy. Yeah, so I mean 3 of this is fine. You could cut it down to 2 and it'll probably work out okay, but I wasn't mad at having 3. Dark, this was irrelevant in the event for me because Yummies are not dark and they don't play any dark monsters, but there's a lot of matchups where this is usable and quite strong even, so I don't think I would cut it. In addition to that, we have the SP, same thing. I think it's pretty non-negotiable, and then that's why this is in the deck. So going second, there's a lot of spots where you'll make your Rock of the Vanquisher to have some kind of push into their board. Rock happens to say that it can't be used as link material. However, if you have other like VS monsters on board and you swing one, like use the battle phase to try to like clear a body or something, you can then turn your Rock into rocks and then use that to make SP, which is a line that comes up a lot. Obviously, this card's not amazing, but it serves a very specific purpose that I think is worth like keeping it around. Comes up quite a bit. Then on to rank 5s, there's 1 Ripper. I don't think you need more. There's a lot of matchups where it just doesn't really do all that much, especially Yummy, which is going to be a very prevalent matchup. But like the best thing about this, and the best thing about the K9 cards in general to me, is the fact that you do get another push off of this existing. Like the turning 2 level 5 bodies, if it's like Sue and Xiaolong into this, and then being able to go get your Jockul to then go into Lantern, like it just puts a lot of pressure. So, but I don't think you need more than one of this. Like it's just not that crazy of a card. Valen, standard. I don't think you would ever change that. Nash Knight, crazy interruption, crazy into a board. I don't think you would ever change that. This is the most like not standard guy in my extra deck. He didn't come up in that event, but I think he is really good. But that said, I also think I'd probably cut him in the future for something to like help, something lower investment to help pass through boards, like a Donner or something. But I'm not 100% sure on that yet. This guy, this is like my primary rank up target for this thing. Just because, like, again, most of my extra deck is dedicated to going second options. This deck just doesn't need help going first, so like stuff like Dice Smasher, C104, things like that, I just think are a complete waste of space. They're win more, you never actually need them. Like there almost certainly come up, like be games that come up where if you play a card that says you auto win the game, it'll win you the game, but this deck just really does not need those cards. So I chose to dedicate those kind of spots to stuff like this. My other number monster was Neo Galaxy Eyes. He never came up in the event. This could just be Honor Arc if you want, but I'm back and forth on them. I don't think either of them is necessarily better than the other. Then the last two like non-negotiable spots in my mind, Typhon and Zeus, they won't come up all the time. Most games you will probably never summon them, but they will be incredibly clutch in the times that they do come up. So I don't think you ever cut those guys. And then last is the side deck, which again is not perfect, but it's just where I'm at the moment. So 3 Droll, because there's matchups where like, obviously searching is just super common. Like if you play against Mitsu Raziel, you probably want to bring this in just to increase your count of non-engine when you do go second, because those decks, decks like that do make like genuinely unbreakable boards. Like if they end full combo where they have Detonator, Baguska, Cross, Prayers, Murakumo, you're just not ever breaking that board. So the best plan is to keep them off of it. So you increase your odds of keeping them from getting to that point by having stuff like this, having Sue and Azuna in your deck. So yeah, that's why that guy's in there. Lancia, because Malice is still in the format. Just a concession to that deck. Same thing where like their board isn't that crazy, but they do draw 6 cards in their combo, and them drawing 6 cards means they're going to have at least a few pieces of non-engine, and if one of those is Droll, you were never winning in the first place. So again, the best thing you can do is try to keep them from ever getting to that point. Then we have 2 Phantasme, which is incredible in most matchups, honestly. I would main it if it weren't for the fact that there's like more pure Raziel variants in the format that just don't make Link monsters. But you know, these guys aren't in my main because I don't want to just get FTK'd by like the Onomat Raziel doing hand loop or something. So for now, these guys are on the side, but they were really good. Like this card's crazy against Yummy. It was ridiculous. I had one point where I resolved it, bounced it back with a Mad Love, then resolved it again. Like it just puts in tons of work. The third Fulos, because I was only maining 2. I know that looks weird. It looks weird to me too, and I don't really like it. It causes me a bit of psychic damage, but I figure I should have the third copy somewhere in the list. So he's in here. And then his 2 ugly cousins, Perulia. Just same thing, like against Raziel, Mitsu, you either want to keep them off of their full board or see so many cards that you can actually break it, but usually this will just like turn skip them if it resolves, so that's why these guys are here. 1 Feather Duster to give you something to draw into off of Charmies if people choose to push into them. Honestly, this could probably change, but I never saw it, so I can't really comment on it. Then my only going first cards were There Can Be Only One. It's unfair into pretty much everything except your mirror, so you would not bring it in against the mirror. And then the card that I think is really bad in the main that everybody plays, Force Release, and to go with it, the Werewolf. I don't mind siding extra deck cards, so that's why these guys were here. It only came up once when I actually, well, I didn't side it in very often for one because I was, most of my games I was going second. But I did do it once, and it didn't win the game because my opponent sided into breakers, and they got punished because I was able to rip their only starter out of their hand. So that is the entirety of the list. Yeah, so that's everything there. I have a VOD review coming of my first like major feature match from the NAWCQ. I know it's super late, but it's something I actually want to put effort into, unlike this, which we can just sit down and record. So like and subscribe, and stay tuned for that.